The competition in fighting games has never been stronger, so I don't blame anyone gunning to be on the big EVO Grand Final stage for playing it safe and practicing on that good old training grid. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't appreciate all of the other spectacular places we've taken the throw at. From dreamy liminal spaces to nightmare landscapes, and even all of the literal streets we've used for street fighting. I have gone through the depths of this genre to deliver the definitive top 10 list of the greatest fighting game stages ever. And if you don't believe me, well, hi, I'm GuileWinQuote, and I have a whole channel dedicated to celebrating the weird, the niche, and the classics within the fighting game genre. So I'm definitely qualified for this. But to make things interesting, I'm gonna enact a strict one stage per franchise rule, or else this video would just turn into a King of Fighters pixel art gallery. So this is GuileWinQuote for EvoFGC, and these are the top 10 best stages in fighting games. Number 10, Samurai Showdown 2's The Versailles Palace. We're mega shocking this list off with SNK's take on Louis XIV's modest chateau. At first glance, all you see is a fancy ballroom, but then, bam! SNK pulls the camera back to show off the Neo Geo sprite scaling, and you're met with a giant full-on Renaissance painting of Charlotte, leading the rest of the cast to face off against the final boss of the game, Mizuki. But because it's so massive, you're only able to catch glimpses of it during the match, which just accentuates how grand this stage really is. No other stage from this era really captured something of this scale before. This was prime SNK flex hours. Number 9, Virtua Fighter 2's Raft. Speaking of flexing, the next stage on this list is the premier stage flex to end all fighting game stage flexes. Shun's stage in Virtua Fighter 2 seems very simple on the surface, but what makes this stage so special is that it was a technical marvel at the time. This came out just a month after Samurai Showdown 2. Not only is this fight taking place on a moving raft that actually existed in a 3D space, but the raft would also dip and balance itself along the water, creating slight changes in elevation. And when the raft goes under the bridge and the stage and characters get casted under a shadow, wow. I don't know what dark magic Sega AM2 used to make this in 1994, but this was incredible tech that showcased that the fighting game genre could be at the forefront of the industry's most impressive feats. Number 8, Capcom vs SNK's Metro City. The first Capcom vs SNK is a very weird game. It's a Capcom game with only 4 buttons, it has a goofy ratio system that restricted team composition, and it also drove tournament organizers crazy, because every tournament lasted forever. But what it lacked in coherent gameplay, it made up with in soul. CVS1 has some of the most aesthetic stages Capcom has ever come up with, but my favorite is the Metro City stage. Not because I think nasty alleyways are super cool, but because of the shadows. I know it's just a dumb gimmick, but there's not one person in the world who didn't go, whoa, when they first saw this. It's so cool that it easily makes me forget that there's a fence just blocking the foreground here. Why does Capcom love doing this? Number 7, Vampire Savior's Tower of Arrogance. You know what else Capcom loves doing? Creating a bunch of cool stages that can't be played competitively because of how they affect the game negatively. Which is why arguably one of the most striking fighting game stages of all time, the Fetus of God from Vampire Savior, is not on this list. But don't worry, Vampire Savior is still on this list with the Tower of Arrogance, cause even the name is striking. This stage rules so much, because if you haven't noticed, the battle's taking place on the side of a skyscraper next to a helicopter, while headlights illuminate the street below. The crazy thing is that there's no lore explanation for any of this, so we just have to assume that a little girl and a Sasquatch just know how to defy gravity and accept it. I love it so much. Number 6, Last Blade 2's Fire at the Watamoya. This next stage has enthralled me since I was young, because it's so simple, yet exhibits one of the heaviest atmospheres that a stage could possibly create for a fight. The brilliance of this stage not only lies in the amazing sprite work from SNK, but also in the story this situation creates. You and your opponent are trapped within this building that is literally falling apart as the fire takes it over, but the need to win the fight is greater than immediate safety. This tense atmosphere is only amplified with Last Blade's minimalistic presentation, as there's no heavy metal song to go with this inferno, but rather just the sound of the flames burning and a bell warning others of the tragedy. This stage is just art. Number 5, Street Fighter Alpha 2's Eliza's Party. Now this one might be controversial, because our number 5 spot is the one and only Street Fighter stage rep, and it's Eliza's birthday party taking place on a cruise ship. You may have guessed that a dude named GuileWinQuote might be a bit of a Capcom fanboy. So this stage makes me smile with joy, because every guest invited to this function is a reference to another Capcom title. We got Strider, Captain Commando, a bunch of Darkstalkers, Lin Kurosawa, and of course, Pure the Mage from Adventure Quiz, Capcom World 2. Which you've of course played, haven't you? Why wouldn't she be invited? Also, if you pick Ken, Eliza will even react to her man in battle. This stage is just too cute. Number 4. Mortal Kombat 2's Deadpool. So let's shift from cute to cruel. As Mortal Kombat has evolved, I think it's easy to undermine just how creepy and mystical the series actually was at the start. And a lot of that eeriness was conveyed through its incredible world building done through its decrepit stages. And I think that Deadpool is the epitome of that. It's the first stage in the game, so the player is immediately thrown into a literal torture chamber from a different realm, while standing on the tiniest walkway imaginable surrounded by acid, which I think creates some tense atmosphere. But coolest, or sickest of all, is that once the player takes it all in, the only thing left on their mind is figuring out how to knock their opponent into the green stuff, which is Mortal Kombat at its core. Number 3. Guilty Gear XX's Nirvana. Let's go ahead and keep it grimy and scary for our next pick, with Nirvana's crazy giant monster thing. While this stage originally first appeared in Guilty Gear X, just a lot more pink there, I love the Guilty Gear XX version more. It just rules because you got a bunch of cultish wizards flying around that are either trying to stop or resurrect some demonic gear in the remains of an ornate building that hints at a society that has long since passed, all while against the most bleak sky imaginable. This grungy but cartoonish hellscape feels like you're fighting on a 90s heavy metal album cover, which is a feat only this series could pull off. Number 2. The King of Fighters 99's Rainy Park. In my opinion, SNK were the kings of the 2D sprite background. I mean, we've gone over 2 other SNK stages in this video already, but to me, SNK's magnum opus is the King of Fighters 99's Rainy Park stage. Now this stage tells a story in 3 parts, with the stage progressing each time a character is knocked out from a player's team. At first, we're met with a serene park on a beautiful day. There's children playing in the distance while their father watches, a man feeding birds next to a dog, and 2 children trying to climb a gazebo. But on the next round, we see that the park has mostly cleared up because a storm is coming, and the only ones left in this drizzle are one of the groundskeepers, a mother getting the umbrella ready for her child, and sadly the dog. Aww. But this is all setting the stage up for its final transformation, because the storm has arrived on the 3rd round, and we're hit with some of the most beautiful sprite work ever put to code. It's just art to me, okay? Peak SNK and peak 2D fighting game stage. Number 1. Tekken 5's Moonlit Wilderness. Look, I know that we all know what the best fighting game stage of all time is. It's a primal urge inside all of us to just want to see 2 people have an epic fight in a field. That's why so many fighting games have the epic field fight stage. But no stage has done it better than Moonlit Wilderness. The fight against your rival takes place at night, in a field full of these majestic white, almost feathery flowers that's wrapped around by dying trees with a wasted away castle in the background, all while only being lit by the moonlight. It's not only the definition of cool, it's also mystical and picturesque, almost like you're fighting within a dream. This is the stage where you settled all of your scores growing up. This is the stage that you imagine yourself having a hard-fought victory against your rival in. This is the stage that burned Tekken into your mind. It's so simple, but every fighting game should strive to have a stage like this. And I don't think anyone would mind if Harada just dragged and dropped it into every Tekken until the end of time. This is the perfect fighting game stage. And there you have it, the totally not subjective and scientifically proven top 10 best fighting game stages ever. In all seriousness though, I went into the creation of this list thinking it would be easy, but there are so many great and iconic stages that I had to leave off that killed me inside. But I want to thank Evo for giving me the chance to splurge about why I love these stages, and I want to hear about y'all's fave stages that I didn't mention, and why they're your favorite. Cause these digital spaces are where our favorite matches, our best memories, and even championships are held. And that's important. Thanks.